Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. My name's Phil. Joining me as usual, I've got Rohan with me. How you doing, mate?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good, thank you. And today we're joined by Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely my pleasure. Honored to be here, guys. You guys do so much work for the community. This is just a pretty special day.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate
I
that.
appreciate that.
We also appreciate our sponsor today, Nabucasa. For a small monthly fee, you'll unlock powerful features like secure, effortless access to your system from anywhere, your choice of voice assistants, offsite backups, and more, all configurable in the UI with no YAML needed. It also supports the development of Home Assistant, ESP Home, and other Open Home Foundation projects. Click the link in the description to learn more. We'd also like to give a shout out to our Patreon members, including our executive producers, Benny and Rob. You can help support the show and get early access to episodes, all in an ad-free feed. To support the show, check out homeassistant.fm and click Patreon in the menu. Chris, thank you so much for coming on today. I really loved the initial entry on the form submission you sent through. You signed off the reluctant Home Assistant guy. So yeah, I thought, wow, this is going to be interesting. So yeah, where are you from today, and sort of what's led you here today?
So I'm currently sitting in Auckland, New Zealand, so not too far from you, Phil. But my accent gives it away that I wasn't born here. I was born closer to Rohan, over in Canada. So yeah, been in New Zealand off and on since about 1995. So yeah, well and truly settled here, and living here in a relatively small but fairly smart home.
I know, just as an aside, like New Zealand property prices were very much an issue long before I think even Australia had, like the property crisis and, property prices around the world. Have you found an issue in the property prices? Like you said, it's a very small automated house. If you found like property prices over there to be an issue?
Yeah, I mean, certainly everything is relative. So, what I consider small, I'm still very privileged to have what I have.
Yep.
It's not an apartment; it's bigger than an apartment. But I definitely know people with much bigger homes. But yes, it is. You're right. The cost of houses in New Zealand compared to income, definitely a bit of a challenge in some cases.
Yeah.
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 I
Which
know.
which actually sort of speaks to I guess some of my budgeting evolution on the whole home assistant journey, having started with, I can't even remember whether I bought them or whether I must have bought them. I think four of those Spot, the G10s or whatever
The
the Hue
GU10,
GU10s. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, the 240
Oh,
volt
yeah.
downlights.
Yeah, they were the very first ones in our kitchen. We had one of those strip lights above the kitchen, so I think it had four of those. Put that in there. Obviously came with the hub,
Yep.
and that was the start of a tumultuous journey, I would say.
Nice. So you, like many people, Hue was your gateway drug to the home automation space.
Yep.
So you started off with Philips Hue. What was sort of your journey from there? Did you go Philips Hue and then other Zigbee devices, or did you go, oh, this is what can I can do this with lights? What else can I?
Yeah, it was definitely a start with Philips Hue, and we ended up only living. In fact, I have a great photo right in the very first COVID times in New Zealand. They locked us down quite hard, so we ended up like boom. So we took a photo in the movie room, which was basically our lounge. Sorry, it sounded very fancy there for a second there.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And we took a photo. We put all the colors on, and like that was sort of our welcome to COVID kind of image. But from there, we ended up buying the house that we live in now, not long after that. So we ended up buying it during COVID, blah, blah, blah. And we moved into here. And then that started it's an existing home, so I wasn't building from scratch, but I'm going, okay, I now have a mortgage that will make your eyes bleed. What's another what's another $5,000 worth of gear or
Yeah.
whatever, So I thought like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'll treat myself here a little bit. So call up a few friends and say, okay, well, if I wanted to do more than Hue, what would I do? And at that point, they said, well, what do you want to do? And blah, blah, blah. And they said, there's this thing called Home Assistant. And I'm like, okay, all right. And do I need to know how to make that work? And they said, no, we'll support it for you. It's like, okay, all right.
Oh,
Never heard from
okay.
them again, by the way.
Interesting.
Unsurprised.
Yeah.
And that was YAML days, not well, whatever it was in 2020. Actually, I'm not sure exactly where. It was definitely some UI to it. Lovelace was there.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that started the, okay, well, I probably will do the lights. So how do I do the, okay, how much are these downlights? Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay,
At a
so
light bulb level, right, it gets very expensive very
Yeah.
quick.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I did the typical, okay, well, I can do smart switches, but then I can't do the circadian light or the warm cool thing. And I thought, like, if I'm gonna do this, I kind of want to do that. So I managed to find somebody who was selling. Interestingly, this actually interesting story I just remembered. Someone was building a brand new house, and they were big into home automation. I didn't know the guy at all, but he ended up and he had wired it up. He tried to wire it up so that there was no actual physical wires going to switches. So he was going to do the Hue dimmers
Oh, interesting.
instead of switches. And what he discovered, and I don't think I'm getting this wrong, what he discovered is that's not actually legal in New Zealand.
I was just gonna ask. That seems kind of off that you just from a safety perspective that you can't kill the power to it, right? Like it's at a local switch, but that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So I got introduced to him, and he was full on into various different things. But that was the first thing. Huh, didn't know you couldn't do that. But he was starting from a new home point of view. But because he was so into it, had literally these boxes of stuff. So I can't remember why, but he had like 7 or 8, maybe even 12. No, it was at least 12 of the Hue downlights he would never use because he bought a bulk lot of it and he wasn't sure what he was doing. So that got me 2/3 of the way to the downlights of the house, and then some of them I had to buy retail. So it was a little bit kind of got there in the end. So that ended up with all the lights in the house being Hue. Well, most of the lights, the downstairs garage and whatever else is fine.
I know Philips Hue have just come out with, and we've had a couple of guests on now that have talked about it, the new Philips Hue motion sensors, like using Zigbee lights to do presence detection in room. Have you sort of thought about going down
We,
that path too?
yeah, we did. So as we kept going with this, so I sort of, well, watch trade me. Oh, sorry, that's the New Zealand eBay. Or
Right.
Facebook
Okay. Yeah.
Marketplace. And for the longest time, I had like little watches on like motion sensors because I refused to pay in New Zealand a new motion sensor for Philips would be like $75, and I
Yeah.
refused to pay that. But
Right.
I kind of like the idea of having motion sensors. So now I've got motion sensors in pretty much every room, and you sort of get them secondhand. But what that means is that all of a sudden you're like, why is this so slow, and why is that not responding? And then I look it up, and apparently there's a maximum number of devices you're supposed to put on a bridge. Who knew?
That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So out comes the second bridge. Then you realize you can't actually, at this point anyway, you couldn't like make one bridge talk to the other bridge in the app or something. There was some weird thing where you couldn't do that. They've since fixed that, which is awesome. But that was like, okay, now I got two bridges and like, oh, what am I going to do with this?
Two different completely things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So then you're going in, that was like a day of, once we finally did that, put both bridges in, move them across, reset everything up in Home Assistant. This is on this bridge, this is on that bridge. Which bridge do you use? Well, that end of the house is that end. The other end of the house is the other bridge. So that was just like completely messed up. And then I know the new Pro bridge, I think is what you're referring to, Phil.
Yeah. Yep.
I've heard
Mhm.
really cool things about that. The last thing I have heard, which as of when this comes out, I'm not sure whether that's been addressed, is that the presence sensing, or actually I've heard it's motion sensing, not presence sensing, although I'm not really sure, but it also hasn't been exposed outside of the Hue app, I think, because I wouldn't be keen to do that until I could actually use it as an entity in
Yeah.
Home Assistant. I don't know if you guys heard otherwise.
I believe 2025.10 exposed that from the API in
Yeah.
Ah,
Home
great.
Assistant.
Okay.
So yeah, you should be good to go now.
I'm also a usually 1 month lagger kind of upgrader person.
Yep.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll wait till sort of the
Wait
20th
till
of the
you know.
month. Yeah,
Yeah.
the point. Like there's iOS 26 is like I'm not touching that for. I know there people love it. They'll jump on the beta. It's like not me. That's just I do not need more hassle with that. Whatever the Mac OS thing, do not need more hassle with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, so lights throughout, and then at some point I don't even know what you could figure out light switches. There's a lot of light switches in a house, even if it's a small house. You'd be surprised how many light switches there are.
Yeah, and some are two-way, three-way switches, and you've got to account for that.
Exactly. And because I grew up in North America, where in general, if you've got a box, you've got a single switch in, or I think it used to be, Rohan, maybe it's changed, I don't know, but you've got like a
Yeah.
switch per box. So if you want 3 switches, you've got kind of 3 wide box.
Right.
New
Yeah,
Zealand.
you got like the 3-gang, whatever. Yeah.
Yes, but that language means something to Phil. I think that language means something else different down here because I was
Yes.
having this really confusing conversation with an electrician in New Zealand and saying, okay, I need 3 gangs. He goes, yeah. And like I can in New Zealand and Australia, you can put 3 switches in what Rohan you would call one box or 1 gang.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so there's not much room behind those behind the wall.
Exactly. And that's where everyone, when I started to look at switches, everyone was saying Shelly's the way to go. And I'm going, cool, sounds great. Great company, super robust. They felt like they were the Philips Hue of relays. And then I realized there's no way I have the room for that. I have all these switches
Yeah.
with 3 switches in it. And it's like, I can barely fit by the time you put the little connectors in there. And of course, I don't do my own electrical. Of course, I wouldn't do that.
Not allowed to do it in New Zealand, right?
Yeah, technically you can. I think you can.
Hmm.
Um, but by the time you just put the wiring in there and you put in, like, I'm already like jamming the thing in there, trying to make sure
Yeah.
that it fits. So I really wish I could have used Shelly. So that ended up with. It wasn't until about 2 weeks ago that I finally got every light switch in the house to be a smart switch.
Still using the Philips Hue bulbs behind them.
Yes. So that was you get out, and this is again I make it complex. I get that, and we were talking before that I'm a walking contradiction because I get so frustrated that it feels like it's just everything is I can find something to be disappointed about every day. Like I walked into the kitchen the other day and walk up's like, why is that light red and the other lights are not red? Okay. I have no
Right.
idea. And I'm sure there's some technical explanation for that, but it's like, well, why is it doing that? Or like we've got those robo vacuums, iRobot. We've got 2 of those
Yep.
around the place. And at least half the time I get a message to say, could not start the job. And there's no technical issue with that. It's just that somebody forgot to dump it or to remove it. So there's an element of all of this that I think, you know what, if I didn't have smart vacuums and just like a normal human being vacuumed the floor once a week, I wouldn't be getting all these messages to tell me that my vacuum is like not being able to do its thing, or I wouldn't be getting all
Yeah.
these various things. Like I'm starting to wonder whether is this actually worth it?
Mm.
But then you have to vacuum once a week, right? And it's
Well, at this point, I'm not sure that I'm not anyway, because by the time the
fair,
50% of the time, it
fair.
it doesn't.
It's
But yes, you kind of understand, yeah.
yeah. It's
And my lovely wife and I, we sort of joke about it because we lay in bed and we think like, oh, people used to have to get up to turn the lights off, and we'll just yell out, "Hey, lady in the tube," which is our internal name for the Amazon device.
Hmm.
Which is partly because we have a daughter that shares that same device name. So it's super confusing.
oh
Oh, so she's
right.
named same as her.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
I see. I've always wondered, like, all those people in the world that are named her, how do they feel now that this Amazon company's come out and basically like no that name cannot be used moving forward in at least English speaking language, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like a great at the beginning because like, hey, look, hon, they've created a device just for you. And
Yeah.
after the first week, it was like, nah, that's just not helpful.
But
No.
there's also the other side of it where you're like cussing it out sometimes, and it's like, oh, not you, sweetie.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
robot.
It's like, why are you so stupid? And it's like, oh no, it's okay, honey. It's like, yeah. And it's interesting because they're all good for something, but not other things. Like we've tended to find, because I've got an iPhone, so that means I can talk to Siri. And if I want to turn the lights off in the bedroom, for instance, Siri is absolutely the go-to.
Okay.
The Amazon device, it's somewhere between goes bling and then nothing happens to bling, every light in the house turns off. But then we've got the garage door, which I was a victim of MyQ, the same as I don't know how many other countless people. So and that was one of probably started the new frustrations. But that was so I think okay, cool. Then I get what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Well, let's save up and get a RatGDO because they seem to be pretty popular and they're relative because they're coming across from the US. by the time you do shipping and stuff, that's probably better part of $100 a kick. And I had just bought, literally, I had just converted my garage door to a MyQ one 2 months before they did the swap over. There's nothing wrong with the previous one, but I thought, yeah, let's automate it. So I, got rid of the old one, put a new one in, down. So GDO cannot get it to work for the life of me.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
Yeah, it just loses its like I can see it, with Home Assistant and everything else, which is great. But it uses a single wire, I guess, to do it's just the data connection, as far as I can tell, and it just sort of loses the head unit. It just can't. It's like you have to resync it, and like, oh, there it is again. I'm open, and it just doesn't know whether it's open, closed, whatever else. So, and because I don't have a guy down the road where I can swap it out and say, try this, I'm literally I'm without exaggeration, I'm a day and a half into trying to make it work, and like I'm just giving up now. We'll just press the button. So if anyone in New Zealand or Australia wants a couple of RatGDOs, I've got that because I bought one for the gate as well, but the gate's different, and it doesn't even know what to do with it. So yeah, they're in the box.
Is this like a relay that it needs to short to open and close?
So the opening and close bit, that it actually, like, I can force it to do that, but it just doesn't know whether it is opened or closed. So and I can, you're absolutely right. Like, I don't want to complain about, there's all kinds of different ways to do it. I just thought, okay, we'll go with the RatGDO one, and that allows it to really communicate, and you can ask it, is it open? Is it half open? Is it opening? Is the light on? Whatever else, because that's what I like. And just, it's not playing ball.
Yeah. I've resulted to just old school. I just close it manually now and whatever. I don't have I got it was on RatGDO. I think it was Connected, who has a similar, I don't know, same but different, right? It for whatever reason, same kind of deal, Chris. Like, it just could not get it to work. I think it's actually something to do with the actual, like, wiring of stuff. So like it consistently thinks just that my the sensors, the laser sensors are blocked. So, or the tripwire or whatever, so it is interrupted, so it just doesn't do anything. Like, I can't get it to close or anything like that. So I'm just like, oh, okay, this is just I could replace the wiring and try that, but I'm honestly, it's really high up and I don't care.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, though, and I got a lot of respect for that, because I get stuck in the sunk cost fallacy, where it's like you've come this far and you just go a little bit. Like, I have replaced my entire home network to make that garage door work, and it didn't.
Yeah,
it's not working. Yeah.
We now have Grandstream, which is the poor man's Ubiquity, but probably $2,000 worth of network. Yeah, I'll get a lot of other benefits as well, but the main thing that I thought, okay, well, maybe it's just not connecting, so we did all that. It's like, yeah, I'll just keep going down that track, keep going.
If you're interested in going down the track, I have one of their cheap MyQ brands, like garage doors, and it didn't have like the smart module or anything, but I could just open up the panel and short one of the ports to then trigger an open and close event. So I got off Amazon. There was a Meross Apple HomeKit garage, like roller door controller. It's in HomeKit. And yeah, I just kept it up, wired it up to the two ports that it needs to short to trigger an open close event. And then it has its own open and close sensor. So then I just run it. It's a roller door. So I run the open close sensor down the bottom of the door. And once it gets to a certain height, it triggers the relay and says, okay, I'm now closed. And it's been great, like rock solid. Apple HomeKit, so it goes through HomeKit straight into Home Assistant. I can't see, the status. Is it opening, closing? It just knows it's opened or closed, which is more than enough for me. But yeah, it's been fine.
Yeah, I suspect I'll have to go down that track even for the gate, because the gate's just a little bit up the driveway. It's got good Wi-Fi. We've got a repeater and everything else, but the gate, it has a weird scenario where like the normally open and normally closed situation is backwards. So if you try to connect it to a standard RatGDO with the standard programming, it's expecting it to be, when I say normally open, I mean the sensor, not the actual gate itself.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It thinks it's the other way around, so it's like closing when it's not made a connection, which is completely bananas to what you would think because of the way the magnets work or something like that. Yeah, I've learned so much. I mean, and that's the great thing about this. As much as I'm like, oh, this is so frustrating, I've learned
You learn a
heaps.
ton of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I've invested a lot of time, and yeah, sometimes it's frustrating. It's also, I remember, one weekend I had a flu or something like that, so I basically just took an entire weekend and just trashed all the dashboards and finally fixed the dashboards that had been about 5 different dashboards across other things, and unsurprisingly, my family was not really into it at that point. So now we've got like a dashboard with the tabs on the top, and so okay, everyone kind of knows how it works, and there's a bit more acceptance of that.
So what is the buy-in like from your family? Like, are they, because clearly you're frustrated, you're the main driver of, the smart home at the moment. Why, like, I'm hearing a lot of, it's great, but it frustrates me. Have you thought about just giving it away?
Absolutely. Recently, but funnily enough, the amount of work to then reverse it back out again is just like, I don't know where that line is, but I've definitely thought about that. Like that, we've got 2 kids, both teenagers now. They used to each have Amazon device in their room. Technically, they still do, but it's like, we're unplugging it. Fine. They just don't see the value in it necessarily. They've got a Hue light in it, and they've got motion sensors, but they don't actually. It's like, just leave it off. So they're not an evangelist about it, nor am I really. I mean, if I was honest, I think I like the simplicity. Like I've tended to be an Apple consumer
Yeah.
versus Android in this. I'm not an evangelist in the sense of, I don't care to have the latest one, or I'm not like poo Android or whatever else. But the thing that I kind of like, I think Apple does well, is it doesn't. It's relatively robust and it's
Yeah.
simple, and I just get a good outcome. I don't have the ability in Apple HomeKit to make my lights 5 different colors. Somehow in Home Assistant, I've been able to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I like that, but it depends on what it is as
It,
well. To answer your other question, Phil, like certain stuff, if it's the fact that the espresso machine is turned on when my wife wakes up, Home Assistant is awesome. If it's the fact that I can't figure out how many times I have to press the dimmer switch to get the light the right color, Home Assistant is not awesome at that point, which is fair enough.
yeah. No, I mean, have you thought about splitting out some of those tasks, right? So like for stuff like that, where like the lights in your case don't work well, whatever, and you just kind of want it to be, you just want it to work and just make sense and like whatever. Run those things in as an automation in HomeKit, and then do it and then whatever home assistant stuff for more complicated things like that. Not that I encourage having multiple different points of automation and stuff like that, because that can get very complicated very quickly. But if you can keep track of them, then maybe that's a good alternative, right? So you kind of get the best of both worlds. Say, hey, you know what, I really like how Apple does whatever, like the light automation, like you alluded to there. Great, so do that there, and then for the more complex things, like the coffee machine one, like great, we'll do that here, and then you can just share the logic back and forth between them.
Yeah, yeah, and in fact, I have been doing that up until recently. The lights we seem to be spending a lot of time talking about lights. I guess it's a common thing that a lot of people use. Up until recently, I was doing exactly that, not in Apple HomeKit, but in the Hue app, because it did a lot of it's relatively straightforward to use. Did a lot of the good, and they had I think they call it adaptive lighting. Could be wrong on that, where you've got over the day, you've got 5 different scenes that, depending on the time of day, it will jump between.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
and we've been running that for probably, well, since it came out. And it's sort of, I used to have this idea of, I think I called it 3 points of failure, which is actually it's the backwards way of looking at it. But it was to say that in my perfect scenario, and I know we want to stay away from cloud for obvious reasons, but my perfect scenario is that uh, I could control it with Home Assistant. Cool. If Home Assistant falls over, because it could, then I've got the native app, the Hue app with its lights. Okay, if the native app falls over because the internet's just dead in here, then I can walk over and I can press the button on the wall and it works. And the same thing with like gate automations. If I can physically go up and move the gate, or I can use the native app, or I can use Home Assistant to do it. And that was working really, really well. But I made the perhaps silly mistake of thinking this is good. These 5 different colors throughout the day is good. But you know what would be better? Adaptive lighting. That would be better. Why don't we rip everything out of Hue and do all of our automations now using the integration called adaptive lighting, and we'll tidy it up and everything will be through Home Assistant. And that'll be great. And in some, like the room I'm in right now, the office, that was my trial. I tried it here for 2 weeks. Didn't tell the family I was doing it. Just kind of, I try this, like, yeah, okay, there's a couple lights in here. It's kind of working. And that worked really well. So then I rolled it out across the rest of the family. We had a family meeting, say, hey guys, let's now walk. Here's how the dimmer switch works. See, press it once, does this, hold it, it goes back to adaptive lighting. We made it pretty simple. What I hadn't accounted for is that in my office, where it's sort of the test, I've got all the same Hue bulbs. So I've got a spotlight over there. Above me, I've got 3 just standard Hue color bulbs.
Sure.
So their ability to be able to deal with various different color temperatures is exactly the same. So when you tell these lights to go to a particular color temperature and it adapts over time, they all do the same thing. When you go into the kitchen, where I've got the downlights and I've got some overbench spots, they're all Hue, but what I didn't account for is that they all deal with their color temperature range is different. So at some point, the ceiling lights stop changing color, and the lights over the bench top, they go red because they have the ability to go right down to the warm color. So those little things, it's like, and I did my best. I tested it in the office. I did it for 2 weeks. We tried it in the lounge. That was good because it's all the same lights in the lounge. The minute you go to the kitchen where there's different types of bulbs, all Hue, and it's like, oh, missed that one. Okay, all right.
And what's your back out procedure for that? Do you then go, okay, let's quickly pivot back to what it was originally, or have you too far committed at this point and you've got to go, all right, I've already moved all my automations over to Home Assistant. I'm just going to have to roll with it.
Yeah, so I think that one I'm too far committed, so I'm spending a lot of time digging into the bowels of the adaptive lighting integration itself and trying to figure out, okay, well, what are they, and then looking up on the Hue site to figure out what are the specifications of this specific bulb, and then just setting that as in this room, the lowest color temperature that I'm allowing it to go to is the lowest common denominator of all the lights. So it's just that extra level of complexity and programming that I wasn't expecting to have to do.
The Hue app doesn't natively account for that, or the Hue bridge, I guess, would whatever it is, wouldn't abstract a lot of that stuff from you and let you do that, right? Like,
yeah, I did think about that. I'd almost like to have a poll on against the bulb to say, tell me what the specifications are, and have that come back into Home Assistant. I have no idea whether that's technically feasible, but to say to ask the bulb, what can you do, and then have that come back as a parameter and kind of go, cool, now I know what I can do.
yeah, I mean, I was thinking a lot more simpler than that. Just they know their models, they know what it's capable of, and so you say it's model 1, 2, 3, then it'll go to this, right? And I'm sure somebody at Philips or Signify, I guess now, knows what the capabilities are, right? Just program it into there and say, okay, when this is grouped with this, then here's your upper limit kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Mind you, I guess I'm sort of bypassing most of Hue with this anyway, because everything is now being controlled outside of the app. So the bridge is still doing whatever the bridge does, but it's not within the app. But so yeah, the family is probably they probably don't care as much as I do. They go kind of like, oh, look at that, red lights, whatever. And I'm just like, oh, come on, it was so close.
Yeah.
Have you thought about just like, you know what, adaptive lighting is just that bridge too far? Let's just keep it with one color.
Yeah, but then we get back to the sunk cost problem again, because like I've got the gear, I've got 90% of the house works except for this one room. It just happens to be the central room where everyone spends most of their time.
Yeah, the critical room.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it works. The other thing, I was thinking it's almost like running Home Assistant or home automation in general feels like it's a behavior modification schedule for our family, because I've discovered as I roll things out, like we talked a little bit before about light switches, for the first little while, I could only kind of justify the cost of doing the main light switches. So there was a light switch in the hallway that was still a physical switch, which meant that I trained my family pretty much to never switch that off because it's Hue bulbs. But of course, you can't train guests to do that. You can't. We were lucky enough to have some cleaners for a while, and I remember the first time I came home and going, why are the lights not working? And I'm like, what the heck? So I went down to the power box and like, no, they're all working. Turn on and off. No, everything's working. Literally took me half a day to remember that there was an extra switch, and then like, oh, that's right. And the cleaners had switched it off. You can't
Yeah,
blame them. They just have no
yeah,
idea.
of course.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And
usability, right? It's for or accommodation for external participants. I don't know what you want to call it,
yeah,
but
exactly. And not even external. Like we've got motion sensors
yeah,
in most of the rooms of the house. But there's our TV room downstairs. It's sort of a TV room, home office. So motion sensors kind of wouldn't work there because when you're sitting there, you're stationary for most of the time. So you just wouldn't do that. Uh, but because every other room in the house has motion, in preparation for the chat today, I started to count. Uh, in the last 24 hours, I've turned the light off 6 times because everyone walks in, turns it on, and just assumes because every other room, after 15 minutes, the light goes off. The brain is just wired that I don't need to turn the lights off when I leave the room because the house does that. It does that in every room except for that one. And it's like, I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah, I had the same issues. Like I would, when we moved to our new house and we had purchased the house, I was like, okay, what are the critical paths, right, where I can automate? Same thing I did the hallway first, and then the hallway lights, were turned off, but then other lights didn't turn off, right? Like bathroom lights would be left on, and bedroom lights. So eventually, you just have to do it all. I think you just have to automate every light switch as possible. It then becomes an issue when you're out of the house, right? Like my wife and I are away, we will leave, the hotel light on or something. Generally, they're pretty okay. They can automate at the room key level, but yeah, you're fascinated to learn like how quickly you adapt to your home environment, right? Where you just assume that lights will turn off, or you will assume that you walk into a room and something will happen because of a motion sensor.
Yeah, I remember when I went to work for a while. I started at a new office, and we had just started to do some work at home. And I went to the office and literally said out loud, "Hey, device name, close the blinds." And I realized, nope, that's not going to work here. That's the wrong place.
Yeah,
But I'd just gotten so used to the idea that that's how I close the blinds.
yeah. It's we've done that too, even traveling and stuff. My wife one time was like, same thing, turn off the lights, right? And it's like, okay. And then so I got to get up and go turn off the lights, right?
Yeah.
And but she legit like was like, oh right, there's no Amazon Echo in here or whatever, right? And it's
Yeah. The other thing that's started to come up, and I'd love to get your guys' advice or just some experience on this, because now I'm starting to get to a stage where devices that I have had, maybe I brought them from the previous home, or when I first purchased them, I went for like the cheap and nastiest smart plug possible, like the $15 Tuya plug. And recently I've had probably 3 or 4 of those in the last year. They're just blown up. They're just
Mm.
bad quality, whatever else. It is what it is. Um, but I'm starting to get to a stage where instead of like going, oh, I'm going to introduce automation to this room device, whatever else, now it's okay, I have to replace it. And as time moves on, I'm looking at that and going, do I replace it with exactly the same technology? Because I'm kind of invested in that, or actually now I've got 3 plugs I need to replace. So is now the time when I need to be looking at Z-Wave? And then at what point do I sort of shift that across? And it's never a problem I've had before because I've always just like, okay, well, just keep doing the thing that I'm doing. But how
Mm.
do you make the decision where it's time to get everything off of Wi-Fi, if that's whatever the thing is, get everything off of Wi-Fi and go, I'm going, whole hog into this other tech, because there's the cost of it, there's the time it takes to do it, and there's the potential that, okay, well, in a year and a half's time, actually that's no longer the right tech. Now the new tech is this is the right tech. It's like I have this fear of making that wrong decision, and then it's just like, oh, yeah.
It's one of my university professors, again, 4 years of university, this is what I come out with, right? Is the best, one of the best things I've heard is it's always the wrong time to buy technology, right? As in, like, hey, great, I got this thing, like it's cool, it's the latest standard, blah blah blah, and I don't know, a month later it's outdated, right? And it's like, so that's even as I build out my house, or built out whatever my house, from a smart home perspective, that's something I kept in mind, and I've just been like, okay, I got to draw the line in the sand somewhere, because you're always like, oh, what about this cooler newer thing? And I was like, oh, but that's like $30 more. Do I want to spend that much? And it's always this, and then you just get into like analysis paralysis almost, right? And then so for me, it's like hey, I'm gonna get this thing and run it to the ground. And it's always especially nowadays, I'm going more local, whatever, right? Unless I can't avoid it, right? Fine. So, but to me, mostly it's that, and then it's like, okay, run it to the ground. And if I need to augment anything, then I'll look at it. But then, like, again, I'm still pretty reliant on Zigbee in my house, right? So that is my, like, kind of, and I have a bit of everything, but Zigbee is kind of the most prevalent thing that I have, at least. And I've been playing around with some Matter over Thread stuff, and yeah, getting it to work in my environment for whatever reason has just not been easy. And I don't have any regular, like, just Matter over Wi-Fi or anything like that. Just so this is my first Matter devices, and I've got like little provisioning stickers here, right? That I've been trying to get working for like 3 days, and it's just so I completely hear you on that front, right? So for me, it's less about introducing the newest, coolest technology unless it actually offers something. This I'm doing more just because I'm like, hey, I need a couple of bulbs, in this case, for outside my house, and I wanted to play with the technology. So great. Otherwise I would not have done that. Um, but yeah, so it's like, you know what? If Zigbee works, Zigbee works. Z-Wave works, Z-Wave works, right? And sometimes I might have the need for both. Then okay, cool. When I need it, I'll kind of pick the best one for that, whatever task I'm trying to achieve, and leave it at that, and let Home Assistant deal with the rest, right? Because at that point it's all normalized, and I don't care if it's Z-Wave or Zigbee or Matter or anything like that, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, whatever. It's
I don't,
just
I don't know. I think there is a little bit of a care factor there, though. Like, they are one, not like price point alone between Zigbee and Z-Wave. You got to factor that in. I originally went with Z-Wave for the critical parts like the downlights, because they're critical, right? Like, I don't want to be dealing with a Zigbee device dropping off the network. And Zigbee, is great, but it's got quirks, right? And so I didn't want to trust, especially things in the wall. Like, if they lose their connection, I potentially have to get an electrician out here in Australia because of the regulations to go behind the wall. I didn't have to do that. Whereas with uh, Z-Wave, it's meant to be more robust, right? But then, of course, you've got the cost to that. My big thing is I don't want to add things to the Wi-Fi. I still don't think Wi-Fi, and by extension Matter, is the right protocol for IoT at this stage. Like, you're still going to, like, if there are device limits, particularly with lower, not your Ubiquiti or your Goldstream or Grandstream, whatever it was, branded Wi-Fi setups, you're still going to have limits, right? Like, as soon as you add 50, 60 IoT devices to your home network, which is not unreasonable, right? Like, you've got a motion sensor, temp humidity sensor, and all these IoT devices around light bulbs. Each individual light bulb could potentially be on its network had you chosen LifeX over Hue back in that original decision, right? So I don't. So that's why I then immediately looked to Zigbee and Z-Wave. Yeah, I don't know if there is a right decision. What I would be more thinking of is, let's say you've just had one of your smart relays that you're using for energy monitoring on the washing machine that's just died, right?
Exactly. That's
Okay,
exactly the thing it was. It was the one on the washing machine.
great. My thing now would be, okay, do I replace the washing machine with something smart?
Yes. Yes.
Because then I don't have to worry about a Zigbee Z-Wave protocol. Yes, it's going on the Wi-Fi, which isn't ideal. It's probably going to be cloud-based, but I do need a new washing machine, and I would like a new washing machine, and I'd like to start and stop the washing machine from my phone, and I get from the house notifications, I still maintain that. That's where I would be heading. It's completely irrational, and this is probably why you're in the predicament you are now, where home assistant and home automation feels like a chore more than a hobby. But that's how my brain works.
Yeah, 100%. I know exactly. I've already worked out the specification of washing machine that I need. We've got a Bosch washing machine, and they do Home Connect, I think is the protocol or the app. We've got that in a dishwasher. I absolutely love it. And if I could convince myself and my wife that now is the time to spend $1,500 on that washing machine, then that's exactly the one I would get. Because it's great. Like we've got our power supplier here in New Zealand. They offer, there's different ones do it differently, but we've got a free hour every day. So, and that's one of the things I absolutely love about Home Assistant, because, and I think, all the different grumblings that we've been having, some of the things that work really well for us is the stuff that's saving me money for power, which is kind of one of the ways that I've been able to hold on to hope that this is still worthwhile doing. Because I basically light up the grid for that 1 hour. We've got a spa pool that I've managed to, and it's admittedly it's a cloud-based one, but I've managed to get an integration that works. It's a jacuzzi one, I think. So I basically, you're not supposed to do this because it's more efficient apparently, assuming that power wasn't free, that you just give it a bit of a bump every once in a while. So 4 times a day it comes on and it just keeps the temperature. I don't do that. I basically turn the temperature off until my free hour of power at 5 a.m. and then it just goes up to 40, blows through as much as it can during that time. And then same thing with the coffee machine that comes on that time. But I'm getting back to why the washing machine made me think of this, because we've also got the dishwasher, which I don't know how much power the dishwasher actually uses, but it heats up water, so I'm thinking it does.
Yeah.
So we've then worked out, how do I set that to go during the hour of power? Now, the usual dishwashers, if you've got not a fully connected one, but a sort of pseudo smart one where you can kind of go like start in 5 hours time, or you can press the go ahead, stuff like that. This, you can do that programmatically using the Home Connect, but what I wanted to be able to do is figure out, well, how do I just know when that free hour is? I know that a cycle generally takes 4.5 hours, so work backwards from there. And this is one of my triumphs that appears to not be broken, and I'm so excited about it, is that I've got I've got one of these, it's a Hue Tap, I think it was, something like that.
Okay.
It's the one that has no battery in it. It's basically
uses when you press it, it generates enough electricity just for that microsecond of Zigbee. Zigbee Green, I think, is the protocol it uses.
I don't know if they make them anymore, but it feels like this is a real innovation. And it's got 4 buttons on it. It's relatively nice looking. So we've got one of these in the kitchen, and in the main disk of it is 1 button. So I don't know if you can see on the camera, there's 3 buttons that looks like buttons, but the whole thing is a button as well. So if you hit it like the master bang button, that goes, and it basically looks to figure out when the next hour of power is, and it then schedules the dishwasher to be able to finish in enough time that it's doing its drying cycle during that hour of power.
Nice. Okay.
Cool. I really like that. And see, it's stuff like that where, again, going back to our previous conversation where Phil and my thoughts about protocols and all of that stuff. Phil and I were basically saying the same thing until Phil brought in the aspect of like, hey, do I replace the whole washing machine, right? And it's that kind of thing where I'm like, oh yeah, you get all that extra functionality with that kind of stuff, right? Like whereas having a vibration sensor and maybe a power monitor or whatever it is on your devices only gets you so far, right? I can't go in
analog to digital, right? Like,
turn it on, set it to this setting, and then blah blah blah, and then run it in this very specific way, right?
So I'm going to
That
be your
does make
dishwasher salesman here, and I'm going to tell you why you should do this then, because we kind of had that automation going, and it's fine. And we then thought, okay, well, the problem was is if it didn't work for some reason, I didn't know because you just assumed that it worked.
yeah.
So we then set up a TTS, whatever it is to get
Yeah, the text-to-speech
yeah,
announcements.
text to
Yeah.
speech. So now the lady in the tube in the kitchen says, attempting to set the dishwasher. It then checks to whether it can do it, and it says dishwasher set. So that was the first one. Like, okay, that's pretty cool. But then we realized that sometimes you don't pay attention because you're just not thinking. Okay, so the dishwasher door wasn't quite closed. So we wake up one morning, it's like, I'm sure I pressed the button last night. I'm sure I pressed the button. And what I worked
Yeah.
out is that the dishwasher door wasn't closed, but because I hadn't accounted for that in the automation, that it just went like, meh, not doing it.
Yeah.
Didn't
Right.
say anything. So now, because the dishwasher knows if the door is closed or not, the first thing it does is it goes, checks the dishwasher's door is closed. If it isn't, it says, hey, would you mind closing the dishwasher door? Click, cool. Now I'm trying it and I'm done. So it now, just being
That's
able to know that the dishwasher, and the same thing with the washing machine. I've accidentally tried to make the washing machine go before, and the dish that's not closed just bombs out. So if you can get that extra little connectivity into the appliances, that to me is the stuff that makes it cool.
yeah. Yeah. That's really neat.
Well, if you're looking to upgrade your smart home, you can't go past Zeus. Zeus have just released their brand new Z-Wave long-range siren and chime, the ZSC 50-800LR, which you might remember Agnes teasing when she was here a few months ago. You can trigger audio and visual LED alarms based on your smart sensors or other conditions, and the audio speaker plays your own files for personalized automation. Or there's a selection in a preloaded library. Zeus are an official Works with Home Assistant partner, helping Nabu by providing long-range devices for testing the new Home Assistant Connect ZWA2 radio. Zeus offer a range of affordable and innovative devices, including water leak sensors, water valve controllers, smart plugs, and scene controllers. Their new Zen 78 high power relay allows you to control and monitor high monitor load appliances up to 40 amps, which is perfect for pool pumps, air compressors, and other high power outlets. For the best prices on all Zeus products, head over to thesmartesthouse.com. That's thesmartesthouse.com.
So, Chris, I mean, we've been talking about like smart appliances and stuff like this. I want to know, is it, you know, how much stuff do you have that natively has a lot of this capability as opposed to you augmenting it, right? So, like again, smart appliances that we talked about, like dishwasher, and really, you don't have a washing machine. You're thinking of going down that front, but where like what other cool things do you have that you kind of have into home assistant so that you can actually control it beyond what it does?
Yeah, the dishwasher is the one that we purposely made the investment, and we said, hey, we need a new dishwasher, so we went down that route. The washing machine and the dryer are both in the queue, waiting. It's just they're not totally broken yet. This one, the dishwasher was like the dishwasher's broken, so we gotta do it. And then you just do the quick math, and you go, okay, well, for a dumb one, it's whatever. For a smart one that does what you want it to, it's maybe an extra couple $100. You go like, absolutely, especially with that sort of dishwasher automation. I don't know. I haven't done the math on it, but I'm pretending that the energy savings from being able to do the things as absolutely paid back that amount. I think the other one for me is the spa pool aspect of it, because those are absolute. You might as well just be throwing money in the spa pool from a heating point of view. And New
Yeah.
Zealand's not even cold. I mean, for you, Ron, if you were trying to do it in the winter there, where you are trying to keep a spa
Yeah,
pool going over the winter, it'd be
yeah,
horrible. So that has some smarts built into it. Not nearly as complicated as the dishwasher,
sure.
but it's got the nice little lights that on the inside of the spa pool. And one of
Yep.
the actually this is probably one of my favorite, and it's super simple automation, but it's just from a lifestyle point of view. It's like this is nice. We've got a motion sensor outside where the spa pool would be. So if you're walking around the back of the house, which is where the spa pool is, most of the time you want the motion sensor to pick up the fact that they're there. Big spotlights come on, and you can walk around the house and it's all safe security and stuff like that. But if you're sitting in the spa pool, you probably don't want to be blinded by the security lights that come on. And the motion sensor is like you can almost touch it from the spa pool. And the first time that happened, like, okay, this is not the lifestyle that I want. It's not what I signed up for. And what I worked out is because I can tell when the lights are on in the spa pool because the spa pool is connected to Home Assistant. And I know I never used the Home Assistant to turn the lights on and off. There's a button. You walk in, you press the button, you get in the spa pool. But it knows then when the lights are on. So then it turns the motion sensor off. So at that point, I can be in there in the spa pool doing whatever enjoying the ambiance, and I don't get blinded by the security. And it's as simple as, because the spa pool is connected to Home Assistant, it can declare when its lights are on. It doesn't turn
Right.
the big security spots on.
That's nice. Yeah, especially something like that. Again, it's all about the scene. It's all about
Mm.
the ambience, I guess, right? Like, you don't want it to just come in and, like, I don't know, it's almost like kicking you, right? It's like, oh, I didn't need that right now.
Yeah, and it's funny because like those two examples, that kind of the lights in the spa pool are on, so don't trigger the security lights. That is super simple. I think the automation is like a few lines. It's not hard at all. That dishwasher one, where it knows when the hour of power is, and which is the free hour for us, and does all this stuff. That's like a huge chunk of YAML. I don't actually know which one is more exciting. It's sometimes the simple stuff.
Sure.
What have been the biggest surprises for you, like positive or negative, in your home assistant journey or in your home automation journey? Like, what's really caught you by surprise? Like, oh, that's cool, or I wasn't expecting that.
I think how much time I can invest in it. I think that has been a real surprise. And it's not.
Is that a positive or a negative?
I'm gonna put my big boy pants on and say that it's my choice. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely treating it. I could stop at any point and just go like, yep, don't install adaptive lighting in the house. As great as it would be,
Yep.
the lights work. Don't do it. So yeah, I need to put my big boy pants on and say it's my own choice to do that. But I think in my perfect world, I would love to, within reason, I would love to pay you, Phil, to
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, here's the keys to my home assistant setup and all the rest of the bits and pieces. I just need adaptive lighting to work. Here's a couple $100 or whatever. Obviously it comes with some kind of budget at some point.
Yep.
Can you just make it work? That's the stage where I am at as a person. I'm an electrical engineer, for goodness sake. I should be passionate about this. I don't do that as a job now, but I theoretically know how to do all that stuff. I
Right.
just enjoy. I think I value my time in such that I'd like to be able to hand it off to someone. But interestingly, it's an interesting business model as to how you would even do that, because how do you make money on that, Phil? Let's say to use you
Yeah.
as an example, because you're obviously really smart at this, you do a lot. You could probably do that work, but okay, well, how do you deliver that? And then
Particularly when like Home Assistant is pivoted at the DIY, the people that don't want to spend the 20,
Yeah.
50, 100 grand on an automation company, right?
Mm.
And you're not going to get that the output's not going to be a 20, 50 grand, 100 grand product, right? It's going to be a Home Assistant product. It's something I've certainly rattled my head around too. Like, how would there are certainly people out there doing it, right? Like we had
I remember that
Connor
episode,
in the UK doing it. So yeah, it's people are out there doing it. Would you have any advice for anyone that's reluctant today about or sitting on the fence about automating their home, like on what they could do to not end up like being in a position where they're going to regret going down that path?
I think know what you're getting into, and be sober with your decisions. And I guess just make a decision. Is this a hobby? And if it is, be cool with it being a hobby. Or is this actually you're really gunning for these specific outcomes of lifestyle, and you're really trying to get a particular thing.
Mhm.
And part of I think that the tumults that lives in me is I can't decide whether it's a hobby or whether it's not.
That was going to be my next question. Like, did this start out for you as a hobby, or did it come out of as a Well, this is a cool to have, or is that a necessity? And
Yes. Yes and yes. And actually, I don't know because if I would like to say, oh, I'm just a normal guy who just wants great lights, and who wouldn't, and likes to be able to lay in bed and tell his lights to go off. Who wouldn't want that, right? But then I'm the same guy who goes like, well, maybe if I did this, that would be 10% better, and then somehow manage to invest 2 full days doing that thing. Yeah, where it is, I don't know. It's got to be somewhere in between.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's as long as you're still not like reluctant is okay. I think what's the word I'm looking for? Where you're just like begrudgingly doing things, right? Then it doesn't become fun anymore. It's
Yeah, yeah. I think the thing that I've started to notice, and it may just be me noticing it, is the number of times where I notice things that aren't quite right, like the notifications from my smart vacuum to tell me it didn't work, or the lights that aren't quite right, or the gate. That it's got a intercom on it, and the person can't quite hear me. It's like it works great, except the courier can't quite hear you, so you still end up going up to there. Just the little sort
right.
of death by 1,000 cuts that make me wonder if I could do it again. This is actually the question. If I could do it again, would I do it? And the answer at this point is I don't know. I don't know.
it's still not enough information.
Yeah, there's such beautiful things like that's power savings, and I keep going back to laying in bed and being able to not have to get up to that was we had the rule of last person in bed had to turn the lights off, and the number of discussions that started. It's like, I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore. But there's just those moments of like, yeah, 6 times in one day, I'm turning that same light switch off.
Yeah.
Yes. That's that's interesting. I know in your email to us originally, you talked about some dashboards. How have you found like doing dashboard? Like, I know we talked about before them having their own certain dashboard now. Have you found the dashboard experience in Home Assistant to be where you want it to be, or have you got any improvement ideas for it?
Yeah, certainly since the latest dashboard came out. So past Lovelace, I'm completely blanking on what
I
the
think they're just called dashboards now.
dashboards, right? Okay, and you've
Yeah.
got the tiles. I think it's the tile version where I can resize them and stuff like that.
Yeah,
There's
there's the whole sections layout now,
section,
and
yeah, exactly. Because I played around with Mushroom for a while,
yep.
Mushroom cards and various different custom cards, and that was kind of okay, but it also was like just couldn't quite get it tidy. I think if I think about Home Assistant's evolution, so much of what the product is doing, we can kind of been talking about home automation in general with, Home Assistant in there. So much of what Home Assistant is doing is awesome. And I think the evolution of that dashboard for me and my family, they went from like I'm not even opening the app to like I now know how to find the right thing in the right room. Part of that is just setting it up properly, but aesthetically, it's so much better now. It's not quite Apple Home level, but it's also doing a lot more. I've got, in the dashboard, I've got a little presence sensor, so it comes on if someone's in the room, and the temperature is sitting right beside that, and below that is another button, and you're banging a lot into a little space in these dashboards. So it's not going to be exactly like the Apple one, but I really, really like where it's going. And so I haven't gotten into, you see the beautiful people who post pictures and it's like different colors and backgrounds and black and neon. And so I'm like, no, I can't do that. I'd love to, but it's like, that's just a level of trying to maintain that and something's going to happen. The one thing, and I think actually it may have just come out. I've been working the last sort of year and a half around the idea of, I guess it was like an activity list or what was happening, what's happened in the house in the
Yep.
last X hours. And I kind of explained it like it's like a log file, but a human can read it. And it was things like in order at 12:20 the washing finished. At 12:30 someone started the dryer. So when I get home and I realize, oh well, first thing, the washing's been not in the dryer for the last 8 hours. That's going to need redoing again. The dishwasher finished and no one unloaded it. Whatever, you get a sense of what's been going on since I've left. And I think that I saw on one of the most recent releases, there was something that was speaking to that. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Trying to think of what it's called.
While Rohan thinks of that, I know LLM Vision has a timeline card for when it does its person detection events, which I've said before, like would be a perfect case for this, right? Like you would have, because in that Lovelace card, you have the ability to push custom events. So, for example, when my alarm panel arms or disarms, I then push a custom event and it shows on that timeline card on the dashboard, right? I can see, okay, the alarm panel armed at this time, it disarmed at this time. So there's nothing stopping me from doing things like the dishwasher was clean at 2 p.m. and then it was put back on at 4 p.m. So yeah, I don't know. I can't remember exactly what feature in Home Assistant you're referring to, but I do think there has been a lot of work around the timeline and fixing it up and making it more user friendly.
What you're referring to is more around predictive entities in the dashboard, where it's like, so Home Assistant actually keeps that list of like, hey, all of these things are typically done at this time and blah blah blah. So I don't know, like dinner time comes around, 6 p.m. comes around, and every day you turn on the dining room lights at 6 p.m., whatever that is,
Yes.
right? So it'll
Ah,
proactively sit there, so you can just tap that and like in its own little section of
oh,
uh, most used or whatever relative to the time and to the day and whatever. So I don't know if
Yeah, so if at 6
that
p.m. you're activating a dinner time scene, then at 6
right,
p.m. on the dashboard, there will be a button to activate this scene.
or at like
Um,
5:45 or something like that, right?
yeah.
And that's the idea. But to that, there is, so what happens is Home Assistant once a day goes in the background and says, okay, what are these things that typically happen at this time during this day, like blah blah blah, and to basically crunch that. And I think that is what you would really care about, and then potentially feed that into like a, I don't know, like a Google Gemini or ChatGPT or something like that, to be like, hey, give me a human readable readout of everything that's happened since between the time, the example you used, Chris, is when you left and came back home. Great. From when I left and came back home. Right. And then you walk in and like your voice assistant can come in and say, hey, Chris, by the way, blah, 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 blah happened. Right. And
yeah.
it's,
Actually, I hadn't even thought of that. That's like the next level of, which is really, really interesting. It's using the LLM side of it. I was just taking it from the perspective of like the real use case. My kids have gotten much better at this, but they had a job of, you had to do one little laundry a day, unload the dishwasher, whatever else. And the only way that I could previously do that is I'd do power monitoring. So I'd go to the individual appliance, look for the power spikes, and go like, oh, okay, I got a power spike at 10 a.m. That means the washing machine. Now I want to see with the dryer. Go to the dryer. I want to see what the go to that. But instead of trying to come up with that activity sort of human readable log file, maybe just throw the whole thing at an LLM and say, you tell me in plain English whether the washing machine ran today. Um, that's a really interesting way of doing it.
I guess you could also do to-do lists in Home Assistant too, right? Just have every midnight, it resets everything to undone, and then go, washing machine ran today, dishwasher ran today, garbage bins were moved down this day, like it's using a camera to see where the garbage bins are. And then you could just tick them off as those events fire. What power detect on the washing machine? All right, mark that to-do item as done.
and then at the
Um,
end of the day, maybe have a readout, right? Saying, hey,
yeah,
Chris, by the way, these tasks weren't done, right? You don't necessarily care about what was done. It's about what wasn't. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that'd be really interesting too. Which I know is not a dashboard. We're kind of gotten away from your
no,
question, but in my mind, it was a dashboard because I was coming and I wanted it to present me with the information that I needed to know instead of having to go digging. Because to me, that's what the dashboard is. You can anything you got on a dashboard, you can go into the settings and the entity and look really, really go down there. But the dashboard just presents what you want at your fingertips, whether it's information or control. So that's kind of what I find them helpful for.
yeah. I think Home Assistant is just like an onion, right? There's so many ways to peel it, and there's so many layers to it, right? That you can um, just go in and go from different angles, right? Like just what we're talking about here, right? We started with a dashboard. We can get AI to do it now. We can use to-do lists. There's a whole bunch of ways. I think there's like a Habitisha integration as well that you could probably make a gamify it if you wanted to. Yeah.
If
Many ways to do it.
if I could somehow connect it to a bank account as well, so that every chore, like there's a $1 amount that gets transferred from my account to my kid's account or something like that. And I'm sure they'd work out a way to scam that, but just like
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly like there's a lot of open banking APIs now, right? And depending on your bank, you probably could automate it if they've got an API.
Guaranteed, there's some crypto ones that you could do.
Yeah.
there's another rabbit hole I can just imagine going down.
Cool. Anything that we've missed that you want to talk about, Chris?
No, I just think I just want to reiterate how much I appreciate what you guys do. I was trying to think about it today, how long I've been listening. It's probably, you guys had been doing it for a little while, but several years now. And the amount of work that you guys put into talking to people, and I remember it was just the releases, and then obviously you've started to talk to some equipment suppliers, and then to sort of the average user or whatever.
Yeah.
It takes an amazing amount of time from you guys, and you have lives and do everything as well. So as well as your own home assistant journeys, you then put the effort into doing this, and that's really we appreciate it. I don't know if you guys hear that enough.
No, well, we appreciate that, and like we always say, like we wouldn't have a podcast if it wasn't for guests like you coming on and telling us how you're using Home Assistant, right? Like I think it's in 2 million homes, and we only get to scratch the surface of those homes, right? So thank you for coming on. I do apologize that Home Assistant has given you a lot of frustrations over the years. I think it's given a lot of people a lot of frustrations, but a lot of good things are coming from it too. But hope you can make peace with it.
Yes, yeah. With great power comes great responsibility.
That is it. That's it. Well, Chris, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers.